Hi, I'm Kyle Thompson, and this is my producer podcast for my advanced session recording class. The producer I'm choosing to talk about today is David Bottrill. David is a producer and mixer and engineer who has won 3 Grammys and has worked with artists such as Peter Gabriel, Godsmack, Kid Rock, Mudvayne, John Mitchell, Coheed and Cambria, Silverchair, Stain, Tool, Muse, Smashing Pumpkins, King Crimson, Dream Theater, Between the Buried and Me, Placebo, Circus Survive, and Skillet. David was born in Canada and has always been a musician, playing guitar in his friends' garages and basements. And he says that being a musician helps him in understanding the fundamentals about structure, progression, harmony, and melody in music. He began his career in 1982 working in a studio called Grant Avenue, which was owned by Daniel Lanois. He was making tea and cleaning the studio around the making of Brian Eno's ambient series of records and the Apollo soundtrack. In 1985, 3 years after he was hired, the owner of the studio, Daniel, went to Europe to work with Peter on his album So. About halfway through, he contacted David and asked him to come assist on the project. When they finished, he ended up staying and working for Peter. After Peter bought the property for Real World Studios, David helped him with what he thought would be good to have in the studio. And he said that he largely appreciates the time that he spent there because he learned how to build a studio and he got the opportunity to work on music from Africa and Pakistan, India, and other kinds of world music. David now lives in Toronto, Canada, but has worked in studios all over the world, from Belgium to Italy to Australia, and he now co-owns Rattlebox Studios in Queen West, Toronto, with Brian Moncars. Initially, I chose David because I wanted to know about who had produced the album Laturalus by Tool, and in a time when music was playing a huge part in my life, that album was central to my awe and adoration for progressive rock, and it turns out that there was more to it than just amazing musicians. Tool sought to distinguish themselves from the norm and had heard that David had experience working with a wide range of music styles, and so they were able to teach him some things about the rock world, and he was able to teach them about approaches to sound that were different so that they wouldn't sound exactly like every other band out there. And the result was very powerful, dynamic, and unique. David knows that, as a producer, he always has to create the right environment for his artists so that they can get a good workflow with its clear of distractions and end up with recordings that they're proud of. He's mentioned in more than one interview that when producing for a band, you have to do a whole bunch of things, even so much as making sure that they're fed and have their laundry done. And I like that he started a label in 2004 called Mainstation Music that looked for talented musicians, no matter what genre, who probably wouldn't make it big, that would actually have a shot with his skills and knowledge. So he's sort of looking out for the underdog. David Bottrill clearly cares about his artists and believes in them, and I think that helps him largely in gaining their respect, which, in turn, helps him get the most out of them in his productions. And one might take a look at most of the mainstream artists he's worked with and assume he's just a rock producer along with many others. But his experience with music from all over the world and his passion to make music a personal experience for every listener distinguishes him as a dynamic and insightful producer.